Hello. Hello, ma'am. Yes. Hello. Good afternoon. Our director, ma'am, Dr. Jyoti Chandiramani has joined. So, Sakshi, can you just make her the co-host as
Yeah,
well?
I've done that.
Yeah. Uh, uh, Saksham,
Yes, sir.
yeah, Jyoti ma'am has joined, and maybe it's Jyoti ma'am. Namrata is our speaker. So, Jyoti ma'am, can you unmute yourself? So, ma'am, Namrata is also from Bombay. She's also brought up in Bombay.
Hi, good afternoon. It's a pleasure to connect with you. Thank you so much for facilitating today's conversation. Really appreciate it.
Ma'am, you're not audible yet. Jyoti ma'am, you're not audible yet. So, Namrata, you're from Elphinstone College.
No, I'm not actually. So I've been based in Bombay for the last 17 years, and I joined Harris about a year ago. But prior to that, I was in school, the office, and I was with Harvard for 12 years in India. And I've done all my formal studies in the US. So I did my undergraduate degree at Wellesley College, which is an all women's undergraduate college. And then I did my master's at Harvard as well.
I think Jyoti ma'am said she's rejoining.
I think Varun is on mute, right? Is he talking?
Can you make her the co-host again?
Okay, I'll do that. I've done that.
Hello, Jyoti ma'am. Good afternoon, Jyoti ma'am. Namrata. Okay. I think, ma'am, I think it will just get her audio right for in some time. I hope there are no more people waiting in the waiting room. Saksham, could you just start the session? And since Jyoti ma'am also said that to continue with the session, so I would request you to just welcome and introduce our speaker, Saksham or Stuti.
Hello. Audible?
Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon.
Saksham, you're on mute.
Hello. Am I audible? Anyone can respond?
Yes.
Yeah, so sorry about that. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm excited to welcome you all to an informative session with Harris School of Public Policy, University of Chicago. The session will give us an opportunity to learn more about the various public policy programs offered by Harris School of Public Policy. It's a great opportunity for us for SSE to learn about the Harris degree. There will also be a Q&A session afterwards in the session. I request all of you to put your questions in the chat box. If you have any, our speakers will be taking them during the Q&A session. Now to introduce our guests, we have with us Ms. Namrata Arora. She's the Director of Academic Partnerships and Strategy at the Harris School of Public Policy, University of Chicago. In this role, she's tasked with enhancing the school's impact through collaborative research, academic and institutional partnerships, capacity building, and knowledge translation across emerging economies. Ms. Arora has over 15 years of experience, where she spent 12 years with the Harvard Business School India Research Center. She has a bachelor's degree pardon. She has a bachelor's degree from Wellesley College and an MA from the Harvard Graduate School. She's the country ambassador of Harris School of Public Policy, University of Chicago. She has done a bachelor's from Punjab Rao Deshmukh Krishi Vidyapeeth, her MBA in finance from Savitribai Phule Pune University, and master's in public policy from University in Chicago. She's a certified financial risk LIC, Infosys, and Reserve address the students. Thank you.
Thank you, Sakshi. I'll now share my screen. Is my screen visible?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Great. Well, thank you all very, very much for attending the session this afternoon, and a very warm welcome to all of you. And welcome to the UChicago Harris information session for the symbiosis community. It's a real pleasure to be here with all of you this afternoon, and hope to walk you through what I hope will be an informative and fruitful conversation. So just to start us off here, this building that you see on slide 1 is a building that we're really proud of. It's called the Keller Center, and this is sort of the home for the University of Chicago Harris School. So it's a relatively new construction. It was constructed a couple of years ago, and the building where you'll be spending a lot of your time. So that's why we're starting the presentation. Next slide, please, Sakshi.
Yes. Is the next slide visible?
Okay, great. So when we think about, we sort of think about Harris and we think about public policy. Yes, it is visible. Yes. I think, you know, a very, very important focus for the Harris School is this around this idea of impact, right? So this is a message from our dean, our current dean, Dean Catherine Baker, where it says that the University of Chicago Harris School of Public Policy has a long tradition of training leaders who use evidence and clear thinking to wrestle the world's most complicated problems. That toolkit enables them to make a real impact world. And I think it's a really profound state, especially where we've seen unravelings of the global pandemic. Real appeal of Harris and also public policy. So they're to do with something. But anyway, I'll continue my statement. Is I think it's really making an impact. I think those of you who are looking to make an sort of indelible impact in the public policy space using data to decisions and using data to sort of lead ahead, that's what public policy promises. Great. Next slide, please. Sakshi, I see that you're back. This is the new reality that we all live in. So please bear with us.
We're just having a conversation with you. We are just all
Yeah,
ears
no, I
listening
appreciate
to
that.
you.
No,
Yeah.
I know. I appreciate the patience.
Yeah. No.
Sakshi, can you reshare your screen, please? With I was with the Harvard Business School in India, and there's some background noise coming in the background. Maybe everybody can mute themselves if that's easier. Yeah, so prior to where I work at the India Research Center, I also have a master's degree from Harvard, and I have an undergraduate degree from Wellesley College, which is an all-women's college in the United States. I think this giving you this background is helpful because I think it sort of also helps you understand what the team is and the fact that I do have extensive experience in higher education as far as U.S. universities are concerned, but I've also been based here in India for all that time. So understanding the bridges that connect this world, our country is in. So maybe I can just hand it over to Sakshi just to give us.
Thank you, Namrata. As you can see, Harris has 8 full and part-time programs, 8 joint degree programs. What we have are special certifications at Harris, and even in policy, we understand that students have varied interest, but they want when they're doing a degree, they want specialized, focused interest, and that is why we have certifications in economic policy, international development, and policy analysis. These are, I'll take you through a few of the full-time degrees that we offer. Before I start on these degrees, I just want to say that many of you must have this question, whether to pursue an MA in economics or MA in Masters in Public Policy. And I think that is a very important question because even I had that question when I was thinking. Because for me, of course, Harris was important, but for me, going to University of Chicago was a very important criteria when I started. And obviously, UChicago is known for its economics. So while I was going through the syllabi and all the people who are working in this arena, I realized that sometimes, economists get carried away a bit. I mean, sorry, don't pull out the daggers, but I think, they're very much intent on the theoretical. And what I found different when it comes to public policy people is that they ask with what the problem is. That's their first step. And then they move to the solution. So that solution may or may not incorporate economics, but it will definitely lead from economics to someplace else. So I can find a solution maybe in technology, or maybe in today's pandemic situation, we have to talk more to doctors and healthcare professionals than to economists, but the aim is to finding a solution. With that, I'll start. The first degree that we offer is MPP, which is our flagship program, the Masters in Public Policy. It's a 2-year course, and it has the maximum student population, almost 400, which also means that it has a lot of alumni, which will help you make connections later on. Then we have a MA degree in Public Policy. This is usually for people who already have an advanced degree. Then we have MS Cap, which is very focused for students who are interested in data analysis. Then we have a degree called MACRAM. So MACRAM is specifically for students who are very intent on pursuing a PhD. So this is more like a stepping stone towards PhD, and it is again very research and research focused. Then of course, for all of you who are very intent on doing a PhD in public policy, we also offer a PhD. Selecting a program, it all depends on how your career interests are aligned, how data intensive you want your course to be, and what areas you want to pursue within the realm of policy analysis. So I'll just take you through the curriculum to give you a broad idea of where the courses differ and where they align. For the MPP, as you can see, the courses that are highlighted in orange. Can you see my screen and can you see my screen and hear me?
No, ma'am. Not.
No, we cannot
No,
see your
ma'am.
screen.
And now is the screen visible? Is my screen visible now?
Yes, now it is.
Yeah. Okay. So as I was saying, the subjects which are highlighted in orange are the core subjects that we offer. So we believe in building a strong foundations of economics, statistics, and analytical politics. And then the other courses that are there in black is just a small glimpse of the various electives that are on offer. For example, we have fundamentals of leadership, which is basically a leadership practicum, whereby all many people who are existing policy professionals, especially in the Chicago area, they come and they share their views. And also there are a lot of sessions and mentoring opportunities available. So it is a mix of a workshop and theoretical lecture. And in fact, we do have sessions whereby those people, they actually bring the problems or issues that they are facing at work, and we have to, that's what our assignment is. So it's not some theoretical case study, but actual real life problems, and whatever solution we bring, we can see what impact it has. Then we have cost benefit analysis, cultural policy, we have health policy, which obviously in this, given these times, that is very important. Then we are obviously interested in foreign policy and data analysis, education policy, and even public policy and higher education. Moving to the second important course that we have, which is MSCAP. MSCAP, again, as you can see, the courses which are highlighted in orange are more. This is because the MSCAP students have to fulfill core course requirements at Harris as well as the computer science division. So as I said, this is a very comparatively more data intensive course, and again they have electives which they can choose across university, which means not just the Harris School but also at the Booth School, Law School, and the Department of Economics. Macram, again, it's a 1.5 year course which is geared toward getting a PhD. Apart from the classes and courses that we have, we also have a mentoring program, because as I said, Harris has a huge alumni population, and these alumni, we offer students an opportunity to interact with them one-on-one. So instead of having huge sessions where just alumni come and speak, we actually have dinner conversations. So for example, if there are 10 students, then there'll be 4 alumni will be coming, and you will have a very one-on-one interaction. And in fact, you can choose before these sessions the details of where the mentors are working. So for example, let's say you're interested in working at the World Bank, and an alum working from the World Bank, then you can actually like bid to have a dinner with them. So it's a very great atmosphere. Then we have policy labs. Policy labs for different policy domains. One of the most famous that we have at UChicago is the Pearson Institute, which is for conflict resolution. So if any of you are interested in international development, that is definitely the place you have to be. Then we have UChicago Urban Labs, which deals with issues of poverty and racism in cases of urban areas. Then there's something called just a second. Sorry, there is something called the IOP, which is the Institute of Politics. As we all know that politics really impacts the way policy is designed, and that is why it is very important for people who are indulging in policy making to be very attentive to what is happening in the political area, so that the downsides are minimized. Then we have a lot of research center like the Tata Center for Development and leadership development. As I told you, we have practicums, and then summer internships. Again, there are a lot of opportunities, especially like many of people during from our batch, they are working with institutions like World Bank or United Nations, and even in corporates like Deloitte and Amazon. Uh, yeah. So now I would like to hand over to Namrata.
Oh, sorry, I think I was on mute. So the question that we're going to keep revisiting again and again during this conversation is why public policy, right? So another aspect that is compelling or interesting about public policy is that it is a multidisciplinary area of focus, right? So people who practitioners in the public policy space could be mathematicians, they could be sociologists, they could be economists, they could be anthropologists. It's not that you get people of the same shape and size entering the program. And I think that's where sort of the magic happens, right? When you look at interdisciplinary courses where different perspectives, different disciplines actually come together for problem solving, I think that's where sort of the solutions lie. And we see that a lot, I think, when we look at our own country in India and how actually, when sort of for instance, if you're like an entrepreneur, right? You can't just make business decisions on your own. You have to look at sort of the regulatory environment, right? So you need to understand how the government operates, what's the regulatory infrastructure, what are the obstacles, what are the opportunities. Then you can make a decision as an entrepreneur in this country. Similarly, you have to look at larger society, right? So if you want to start a business, you have to look at not just your own sort of stakeholder group, but you have to look at the stakeholder group around you. And I think that's the multidisciplinary nature that public policy promises. So I think if that kind of focus area appeals to you, where you can kind of interact with a diverse group of people, I think then public policy is the right field for you. Okay, great. So now let's sort of talk about our faculty. So the University of Chicago, as most of you probably know, is what we consider like an Ivy League plus school. So in the United States, of course, we have this term called Ivy League colleges, and they sort of tend to have a lot of great reputation. But the Ivy League plus, which are schools like Stanford, MIT, UChicago, Caltech, those are kind of in the same category. They're not part of the Ivy League group, so to speak, but they're sort of almost the same in terms of reputability and academic rigor, etc. Right? So UChicago is, of course, we're under that umbrella, and therefore we attract, of course, some of the best faculty in the world, I would say, Nobel laureates who come through our campus and have either taught or studied at UChicago. So that's something that we're really proud of. If you just look at this slide and just without even sort of looking at the specifics of who's who, I think it speaks to the diversity on campus, right? So we have faculty from different parts of the world, from different backgrounds, different genders. all focusing on different, again, because it's a multidisciplinary program, they're focusing on different areas of research. And that I think makes for a very, very special place. So that's kind of, without going into specifics about faculty members, I think that's sort of the takeaway here, that it is an extremely diverse, dynamic group of people. Next slide, please. Great. So again, without sort of not wanting to get into the specifics of what Professor Kellel or Professor Jones do, I think, again, the idea is that professors at Harris wear multiple hats, right? So what I mean by that is, a professor, of course, one of their roles is to teach. And then, of course, that's a big part of what they do. And they do, of course, teach, students in the Harris community across degrees. But in addition to that, they also are parallel. So they're continuing the rigor of their own research, and they're continuing to push the envelope as far as their area of studies are concerned. And in addition to that, what I think is really special is that faculty members are also involved with the school administratively, right? So it could be directing a research center. It could be, sort of collaborating with other faculty on different sort of, across departments on certain projects. I think that administrative side of our faculty really sort of gives them that edge, right? Because they're not just immersed in their research, but they're also really out there building sort of the nuts and bolts of the university through administrative functions. So that's sort of, I think, an important piece. Just for the purposes of this conversation, I also wanted to focus on sort of our faculty and some of the India-focused research that is happening on campus, which might resonate with you. So one person I wanted to highlight is Professor Michael Greenstone. So Michael actually heads, of course, along with being a distinguished professor, he also is the director for the Energy Policy Institute at UChicago called EPIC. EPIC has an office at Chicago. It also has an office in Delhi at the UChicago Delhi Center. And they work on real sort of dynamic projects with the Indian government. So they actually work with different, across different states, like in Gujarat and other states, they work with actually the energy departments to look at how much industrial pollutants are being let out by factories. So there's actually, they actually maintain a website where you can visit and you can like go there and you can look up any factory in that state. And on a real-time hourly basis, you can see how many emissions, what the emissions levels are. So it's that granular. So it just speaks to the kind of research work that we're doing in the country. So again, it's not just about, okay, research is happening, but a lot of the research is in the United States or in Western Europe. As a matter of fact, there is a lot of research that is happening here in India itself, which I think makes it all the more exciting. Really working hands dirty and working with sort of state governments and understanding what the issues are. And I think that is a really exciting part of some of the work that our faculty members are doing. Yeah, next slide, please. Wonderful. And then, of course, on top of that, I think Sakshi already referred to this earlier in her comments, but our faculty are not living in an ivory tower, right? So oftentimes, professors get so immersed in their research, they have little time for being out there in the outside world. I think one of the things that we're really proud of at Harris is that a lot of our faculty members are very interactive as far as the media is concerned, as far as publications go, right? So we'll see our professors on CNN, at the Wall Street, speaks to the relevance of what they're doing, right? So it's not necessarily that they're researching some esoteric topic that doesn't really, nobody really cares about or nobody's going to ask about. However, that's not the case. They are actually doing real-time research that impacts the world today. So again, that's another exciting element of the work that our faculty do. Next slide, please.
The community. It's about the community.
Great. So over to Sakshi. Yeah.
So yeah, this is
Go ahead.
a very favorite slide because this is about how you are actually like, it's great. You have all of you love studies, I know, but I know you would be coming to Chicago much more than studies. So at Chicago, we have a very huge international population, more than specifically at Harris, we have 52% international students. So that really speaks volumes of the international vision that Harris have, including the faculty and the administration. Here, specifically speaking about the South Asian population, we have a lot of South Asian community there. There is a student association. At Harris, we had like almost in my batch 50 Indian students. So obviously, there were a lot of house parties. And though the winters are a bit chilly, there are a lot of opportunities available. For example, there is a full gym and swimming pool available. So even if it's cold outside, you can still go and exercise. And there are a lot of events like dance and musicals, and even at the church there are very nice evenings happening and a lot of plays that are happening. So it's a very good community, and specifically even in studies, if you need help, Harris provides a lot of tutors. You can actually, every student has can hire individual tutor if there is a specific subject that you are facing any issue with. And as I said, you can bond with mentors in your area, policy interest area. So I think the community is very inviting, and it's a place where you are definitely going to have a lot of fun. And then Amrita will speak about the student profile.
Great. So this is our student profile for the fall of 2019. Again, I won't go into, I think that the data is pretty clear and I'm assuming visible to all of you. But I think a couple of things I want to stress on. One is that, we have 600 students as part of the Harris community. So it's a fairly, I would say, it's a good size. It's not too small, but it's not too big where you can get overwhelmed. So it's not tiny where you know like everything and everyone. In a sense, there are opportunities, of course, socially and getting to know people and sharing perspectives. So we have 600 students, and we have 42 countries represented. That is something that I think we're really, really proud of, that we have such diversity in our student body. I think in terms of strategic focus, the top international countries for us, where our students come from, are China, India, and Mexico. In that order, actually. So India is a very, very big strategic priority for us. I mean, the simple fact that Sakshi and I are both based in India and both serve Harris and Harris's mission in the region says a lot in terms of the investment that Harris is making in the Indian community. So I think that's something that's worth highlighting. We also have a great male-female ratio of 50-50 across, it's cut across pretty evenly of men and women, which is also, of course, wonderfully encouraging. And in terms of work experience, I think we get asked this question a lot. So we have 14% who have an advanced degree, and the bulk of our students have 0 to 1 year of work experience. So again, if you are sort of, if you're in school right now and you're thinking about pursuing a graduate degree at Harris and you're concerned that you don't have any work experience, you don't have those few years under your belt, I would still very much encourage you to consider applying, because again, as the data shows, we do have a large chunk of our students who don't have much work experience to speak of. Great, next slide, please. All right, wonderful. So again, another big thing that, of course, will sort of help you make your decision is around, well, okay, if I go to Harris, what about life after Harris, right? What are the opportunities available to me as a Harris graduate? And that's where the Career Development Office comes in. So Harris has an office called the Career Development Office, also known as the CDO, because we love acronyms, basically, which is essentially missioned to help you achieve your career goals, right? So how does the CDO do that? It's sort of an end-to-end kind of a service where they help you in terms of exploring your career options, helping you figure out what might be more suitable based on your previous background, how to sort of prepare like a successful CV, how to sort of interview successfully, what are the organizations that you should be targeting, etc. So it's a holistic kind of a process. And, you know, especially, you know, for our international students like yourselves who, you know, may not be necessarily very familiar with the US job market or the opportunities there, there is special attention paid to the international students, I think. So this is something that we have. So we do have essentially a dedicated team that will help you sort of navigate the workforce, so to speak. Next slide, please. Okay, I think someone's phone is ringing. Okay, so in terms of career outcomes, right? So again, going back to the data and what it says to us. So for the class of 2019, 96% of our students had job offers, and 94% of them actually secured employment, right? And finally, 90% of those employed had accepted an offer 3 months before graduation. So that just explains to you sort of the cycle of job placement. So we did have 90% of our students who had jobs way before they graduated, which is what we would, of course, what we would like and what we would aim for. And then of course, where do our students actually go? Okay, so we have I think we have a pretty good split. So we have like about a third of our students go to the nonprofit space. 30% of our students work with the public or government agencies. And this is an interesting figure, I think, because, you know, when you think of public policy, you think of the public space, but that's not necessarily the case. I think more and more, especially, I think one of the things I've been seeing for the last year is that, especially amongst Indian corporations, there is this interest to hire people with some kind of an understanding of public policy. So if you look at McKinsey India, or if you look at Deloitte, there is a lot of focus on people with that kind of work experience because that's seen as a sort of a niche, a special skill, right? Of course, this is not India data, this is global, but we have 40% of our graduates who actually work at the private sector. And some of the organizations that we've partnered with are, they're mentioned here, Deloitte, the World Bank, EPIC, we have ADB, the Asian Development Bank, Brookings, et cetera. So some of the top, you know, some of the top organizations in their fields have a working relationship with Harris. Great, next slide, please. All right, wonderful. And I think last but not least, you know, in terms of deadlines, right? So of course, in the application cycle, should you be applying this year or next year, whenever, this is broadly what it looks like by and large. I mean, COVID has brought a few weeks of delay, but generally we look at an early action round in October. And then we have a round 1 in December. And we have round 2 in January, at the end of January. And we encourage our international students, of course, to apply as early as possible, but definitely before, you know, by the time December 1st is, I mean, that's actually the, you know, that we encourage all of our international students to apply by then. So even if you're not applying this year, even if you're considering applying in the future, this is what it will look like in terms of deadlines. Great, thank you. Is that it, or is there anything else, Sakshi? I don't remember now. Are we done with the deck?
Yes, the resources for application.
Yeah, please. Yeah, so we have like, you know, so the Harris website, of course, is a wealth of information. There's information on the degrees, there's information on, you know, webinars and sessions that are being planned in the weeks and months ahead. We are doing a lot. We're leveraging, you know, Zoom, we're leveraging the virtual world, and we're doing a lot of online conversations. So, you know, would definitely encourage you to sort of, you know, if you want to get in touch and get better connected, Sakshi and I are happy to connect with you individually and help you, you know, sort of put you in touch with resources to make you get ahead and get you the information that you need. So, you know, after this session or whatever, if the Symbiosis team would like to share our email addresses with the group, happy to do that. Happy to have one-on-one conversations, whatever it takes to help you understand our program and our offerings better. Great. So I think we'll stop. I think we've talked a lot. So, and we've had some technical glitches. So thank you for your patience. And now I think I want to turn it around to you, right? So this session is about the students, right? So anything that we can answer, any clarification, I think the mic is over to you. So please go ahead.
Thank you, Namrata ma'am, for this wonderful session. We would now like to start with question and answer round. Our faculty member, Sebin Sir, has few questions for you, ma'am.
Hi, can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So thank you. It was a very informative presentation. Although I'm being introduced as a faculty member, I'd like to correct that to also an alum. So I was an alum, and which is why I'm here for this webinar. So my questions are pertaining I have finished a master's, so it's pertaining for the PhD program at Harris School. So are PhD programs at the Harris School funded similarly as across departments, or is the funding different? And also, is the structure of the PhD program very different from other departments? And similar follow-up on that same question is, are there any courses which are taught by faculty from other departments, or is there some sort of interdepartmental mingling or interaction that happens with Harris School and say econ department or booth?
Sure.
Thank you.
Yes, great. So thank you for your questions. I'll of course answer as best as I can. And Sakshi, if you have anything to add to anything that I say and vice versa, please feel free to jump in. So yes, so to answer your question, Sebin, the PhD programs are fully funded by Harris. So that's an important thing, I think, that, you know, is for one to know that these are fully funded programs. And of course, another important element of that is to know that because they're fully funded, they're extremely competitive, right? So because, you know, because this is a significant commitment for the school financially, and it's a significant commitment for the learner as far as number of years is concerned, it is something that it's you know, it's as competitive can get. So I think that's, I'm sure you realize that. So and yes, it is fully funded should you get in. And the second point is that, you know, regardless of which department you're pursuing your PhD in at Harris, the structure is more or less the same, right? Funding is the same in the sense if you get in, you're fully funded. So I think that answers that. And I think that, you know, and I think you touch upon a great point, which I think we should have mentioned in our conversation, is that one of the great things about being at Harris is that, especially in your second year, you have the liberty and you have the encouragement to take courses across University of Chicago schools. So we do have a lot of our students, especially from India and other parts of South Asia, who take classes, a bunch of classes at Booth, which is our business school, also at different departments across campus. So there's a school of social sciences, obviously econ department, really wherever you want to be. So I think that's, again, something that in terms of leveraging, I think as a student, it's for you to leverage. You don't have to, but students do. And I think it's a great opportunity. And because, you know, not only Harris, but, you know, other schools at UChicago are also equally well ranked. So of course you'd love to, you know, why not, right now that you're on campus? So yes, we encourage that, and our systems are in place where it's pretty easy for you to go across campus and take a class at Booth or wherever else you want. And yeah, as I said, a lot of people do it. So Sakshi, do you want to add anything to that? Am I missing anything?
Yes, no, you're right. I just would like to give like two examples. For example, this is some professor called Professor Alu Malani. He's actually working, he's a professor at the law school. But recently when the pandemic started, he decided to do research on migrant labor in India and the impact of pandemic in that, long before it started making headlines. And in fact, many Harris students were part of research assistants, you know, worked as research assistants with him. So that is the thing. And in fact, at Booth also, they have this special incubation center called Polsky, where they have this SVC, which is the social ventures, you know, impact, like there businesses which have social impact. So they encourage such businesses, and in fact for all those B school competitions, the teams usually comprise of people not just from Booth but also from Harris. So I think, you know, every department at UChicago has not just like intention but very strong inclination to work with Harris students and faculty, because at UChicago at the broader level everyone wants to make an impact, and I think the road to impact goes through Harris, so everyone follows that path.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. So the next question is from Shreya. She's asking, what is the place?
Okay, good question, Shreya. So we don't actually cut the data as per, passport. So we don't have India specific or China specific information, but I can give you a broad sense of, sort of where our Indian students are going and what they're doing. So one thing is that our incoming, Indian student population is very diverse, right? So some folks are, straight out of undergraduate, come to Harris for their master's degree. Some of them want to, of course, do the 2 years, the MPP program, for instance, and explore job opportunities that are available in the United States. A lot of our Indian students want to do that. So that's one kind of profile, if you will. Then there's another kind of profile of, Indian students who are working for the government, who are sort of, they've taken a sabbatical from their jobs with the government and are actually at Harris for 2 years, and they intend to go back to India, right? And go back to whatever they were doing. Either they were bureaucrats or working with a governmental department. Then, we have, of course, students, again, from this region who have, 5, 6, 7 years of work experience, maybe in the private sector, maybe they're working for KPMG or, one of the big 4 accounting firms in India. And, they sort of want a career switch. They want to look at something different. They come to Harris to sort of get a new perspective and maybe go into the public space in India. So there's all kinds of different profiles. I think it really depends on you identifying, what are your career goals? So when I think of career goals, I think about, short-term and medium-term. So short-term career goals are, okay, what do I want to do right after graduation? That can be very different than what you want to do 3 to 5 years after graduation. So I think that is something that is very individualistic, and it's also driven a lot by your context. So I think, it's an interesting question that you asked as well, because we have Sakshi with us today, who is not only an alum, but her spouse was also was at Harris at the same time, and both of them have a slightly different profile. So Sakshi, do you want to talk a little bit, if you don't mind? I don't mean to put the spotlight on you, but I think your experience was quite interesting.
Yeah, so I think
Go ahead.
yeah, so my husband is a bureaucrat, and for him, going at Harris was a way to amplify whatever he was doing, and with much more accuracy and precision, because there is this stayed image of like, oh, bureaucracy, or like, we watch TV series like Office, and like that's what happens in a government office, but that's not at all true. That uh, government today is highly data driven. In fact, my husband was used to work at the Ministry of Rural Development, and they have the most like data intensive website, I would say. So if you want any data, like at this moment, how many houses are being built at under the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, so you can get that data immediately. So that kind of data analysis, that kind of approach is happening in government also, and that is why it is very important for bureaucrats to be on their toes. And so for him, that was the experience. For me, I was working with the central bank, but I really wanted to switch my profile, because I think for me, more than the institution, the impact of my work matters. And that is why, Harris has shown me that when I met many different people, that's when I realized that it's my vision till so far had been quite myopic, and there are many different policy areas which are very how should I say, those are like circles, and then they intersect at many points. So for example, I may be interested in education, but then I also have to know about technology, and that is also related to health and income and race. So I think that kind of Harris has opened a candy store for me of various policy interests that are available, and so that is why I'm forging a new path for myself. So I mean, we are both in the same family, but we both went to Harris for different reasons, and we have come out better of it with our own different reasons. So I guess that's my answer, Namrata.
No, that's great, and I just wanted to add something to that, if I may. And this is it's not necessarily answering your question, Shreya, but I think it speaks to the larger point. I think when we think about our master's degree, right, and wanting to pursue our master's, I think we have to look at it, or the way that I see it, if I may, is as an investment, right? So this is an investment that you're making in yourself, right? And the fruits of that investment, the return on investment, if you will, to put it in slightly, transactional terms, is it actually is an investment that pays you throughout your lifetime, right? So yes, it is about the job that you get out of after graduation, sure, where you can land, right, whenever you graduate, but it's also about the career opportunities that you have 3, 5, 7, 10 years after you graduate, right? So when I think about my own personal experience, if I may, when I did my master's at Harvard, I did the master's and I was like, yeah, I went to Harvard, now I'm going to get an amazing job. I'm going to move back to India. I'm going to get a great job. Everything's going to be wonderful. And I actually came back and I wasn't that thrilled with the opportunities that were in front of me. So I took a job for the first year, wasn't very happy with it. I didn't think it fulfilled my goals. But then I realized slowly that, the opportunities that having a degree from a university, a world-class university, right, be it UChicago, be it Harvard, whatever it may be, it's not about the university, but having that and made that investment, that may pay off right away, but that will definitely pay off in the years to come. Right. So I think that's always really important, especially nowadays in today's environment, right, where, the world economies are a disaster, job markets are low, et cetera. I think that's always something to keep in mind, that it's an investment that you're making now for your career, for your entire career trajectory. And I think that's very important. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, I would like to add something. Yeah. Shreya, one more thing is what we have observed is there are many international research institutions, like whether it is International Food Policy Research Institute or CGIAR, which is Consultative Group of Agriculture. Yeah. So many of the institutions, research institutions, research think tanks, or even JPAL, they look for people who can do public policy, program outcome evaluations, monitoring, evaluation studies, and they look for people who have done masters in public policy. There are a lot of international research institutions which look for masters in public policy. Even recently in government, we see Ministry of Commerce or Niti Aayog, they have opened the slots for young professional, where one of the requirement is if you have masters in public policy, that way. And there are a lot of opportunities, but many could be research driven. Many of these opportunities would be research driven, and maybe we would like to know more about the alumni of Harris School, in which research institutions they have gone. Thank you. Namrata, would you like to add on it?
No, Varun, I think you're absolutely right. I think you've touched upon a really important point here. I think that, again, when you, as a student, if you are looking for master's, right, degrees, and where is the right fit, right? Because on the website, honestly, they all look and feel very similar, right? Courses are structured in the same way. Campuses look nice, everything is great. But then, how do you end up deciding? I think one of the factors, as Varun rightly pointed out, is looking at sort of this idea of the alumni community, right? So where are, going back, let's say you want to come back and work in India, right? So looking at how active the alumni community is, looking at how large that community is, right? So, there's just a handful of, Indians going to that program, and they hardly, of those, only half come back, and there's not a very good alumni network. I would be a little bit wary of that, right? I think, Harris has a robust alumni community. I think as Sakshi mentioned, every year our numbers of Indian students, of course, increase. They, of course, end up being alumni, and they're very, they're very sort of connected with Harris, and they want to help. And I think that they can be found across industries and sectors. So you can find them in the government of India, you know, Sakshi's partner, as you know, in the government, you can find someone like Sakshi, right, who's working at Harris for higher education. You can find others who are at JPAL, you know, so there's it's an eclectic bunch. And I think that is a very important deciding factor when you're looking at different schools. So studying this element and seeing where the alumni are will give you a good indication of sort of where you might end up being in the future. Great.
Right. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am, we have the next question from Kamakshi. She's asking, are all the courses expected to take place on campus fall 2021 onward?
That's a really good question. I wish we had the answer. I mean, I wish we had a crystal ball. You know, I think that, you know, we're all, unfortunately, you know, we've all been in this together. You know, it's been a really difficult few months. I think that, you know, while, you know, I think that in terms of Chicago, in terms of the state of Illinois, things have not been that bad. I mean, it's all relative, but it's been okay. The COVID situation has been relatively under control, I would say. I also think that if we're looking at fall 2021, right, which is essentially September of next year, I think if we look at all the sort of reports and all the conversations that are happening globally, I think that, you know, COVID should be behind us by then. Right? I think we have all indications that hopefully by the spring of next year, I think there's a lot of chatter and conversation around how we should be able to get back to some element of reality and normalcy. So I think we're all hoping for that. We're all optimistic. We're hoping for a lot of changes, especially November and maybe what the elections can bring in terms of changes as well to the United States. But anyway, I won't get into that right now. But yes, we're all hoping for that. Unless, God forbid, something crazy happens, I think that we should be good come September 2021. We should be back on campus and able to physically connect with each other.
We have the next question from Kamakshi again. She's asking, any insights on what the admission committee considers when reviewing the applications?
Oh, that's a great question. That's a question we always get asked. So let me, I'll make an attempt. So I think there's a couple of things that admission committee, so I'll tell you what the admissions committee is not like focusing on, in the sense that it's, you know, I think sometimes as we are, you know, as Indian students go, there's a lot of focus on, oh, you know, like how are my grades and, you know, my academic transcript, and that's gonna sort of give me this cutoff of whether I can go or whether I can't go, right? Or my GRE scores, what's the cutoff, right? We always get this question, like, what's the cutoff? And the answer to that is that we've deliberately not created a cutoff, right? So of course, coming to UChicago, coming to Harris, you have to have academic rigor. You have to have done well in your subjects. You have to have taken a variety of different courses at undergraduate, sure. But is there one sort of formula that we're looking for? Is there one profile that we're going to say, yes, that's the profile we want? The answer is no. And it's the same for your GRE scores, right? We understand, well, this year, and in any case, it's optional. But when the GRE was mandatory, we didn't have any cutoffs because I think we look at the profile holistically. I think we're interested in leaders. We're interested in leaders who want to make an impact. So if you can make that come out in your application through your personal statement, through their letters of recommendation that you get from your professors or your former managers, through sort of your academic transcripts in terms of your courses, through your CV in terms of the work that you've done, that to us is very compelling, right? And we're not looking for 600 people that look and feel the same way. We want diversity, right? So we want different experiences. Remember, we want those mathematicians, we want those economists, those sociologists, and we welcome those kinds of applications. We welcome the eclecticness. And again, if a student feels, oh, you know, I don't have enough math, you know, I've not done enough math, or I'm not good at math, so I'm not going to go apply to Harris because Harris is all quant. I would encourage you not to think that way. I think that for students who are not comfortable or rusty with math, who haven't done math for a while or feel like they need to brush up their skills, we do offer like a boot camp before they join. Once you get admitted, before, you know, the summer before the, you know, your classes start, there is a math boot camp to get you up to speed. We don't expect you to have a coding or Python background. I mean, we don't expect that. And if you don't have that experience, we'll make sure that we get you there, you know, through our individual sort of tutoring. And, you know, we pay attention to the individual student. So I think going back to the most important thing, it's really about your desire to make an impact and how you can communicate that in your application through those various tools that are in front of you. Sakshi, do you want to add something to that? Did I miss something?
No, that's perfectly all done.
Great. Wonderful. So I think we're getting at 3 o'clock, so I just want to be mindful. So maybe one last question, if we have one.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We have a question from SSE alumni here. He's asking how much role would work experience in public policy sector play in the application and the consideration in the future classroom for the MPP program?
Yeah, great question. And the answer to that is it would play a significant role, right? The fact that you've demonstrated your commitment to public policy through your work experience tells us a lot, right? These are all signaling motions, right? This signals to us that you're committed to this field. And those, those of our admitted students who do have work experience in the public policy space, or let's say they have experience, let's say they were a TA in their undergraduate, on a statistics class, or if they have any kind of additional experience, we encourage our admitted students to apply for RA positions or TA positions on campus, which are paid opportunities for you to work with a professor or a research center. So we offer those, and those especially, students with work experience, students with experience in academia, that always helps, right? So we definitely have options on campus available for you should you have that work experience.
Yeah. Ma'am, we have one last short question from Varun, sir. Can you take that?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. First question is that I get a lot of requests for letter of recommendations. So when the reviewing committee looks at the letter of recommendation, is it just like a procedure that is the content of letter of recommendation looked at, or it is just like one of the just one tick mark? That is one question.
Yeah. You want to ask your second one as well?
Yes, my second question is,
okay, go ahead.
Our bachelor's program is 3 years program. So are our students eligible for the PhD program directly or for the master's program first? These are the two. Thank you.
So I'll answer the first one. I'll save the best for last and let Sakshi answer the last one. So the first question, yes. So letters of recommendation are super, super important because they're an opportunity for us to get to sort of see who you are from another person's vantage point, right? Someone who knows you closely, someone who has either taught you or who has managed you. So they get to give that perspective, which is a new perspective on the application, right? There's no other place where you can get that kind of lens, right? So it's very important. Therefore, it's very important that when somebody reaches out to you to say, I want an LOR, they should give their background and a CV and an update on what they've been up to, right? That's always important, in terms of protocol, so that you're able to write a strong letter recommendation for them. Also, I think that, what really makes some letters of recommendation stand out is when they speak about how the student will be able to sort of cope with the Harris program in particular, right? So what we don't want is, we can we can cut Harris and put Columbia, we can cut Columbia and put Harvard, and the LOR is the same for everybody, right? I mean, in a sense, the student submits the same LOR across to all the schools that they're applying to. So if there is that element of personalization, where there is where there's a couple of lines talking about Harris, that I think is really, really always very nice to see. But yes, the LORs are really important, especially this year because we don't have GRE. So suddenly one of our sort of evaluation tools is gone, right? It's test optional this year, so people don't have to submit. So GREs are gone. So now the other pieces get greater weightage, right? So therefore, yes, it's absolutely critical. Sakshi, you want to take the second question?
Yes. Yes, so for a 3-year degree, I think it is always advisable to go for the master's program first. And as I said, if you really want to very intent on pursuing a PhD, then we have the Macram course, which is just a 1.5-year course, and you can apply for that and then pursue your PhD. And we also consider internships as part of work experience. Internships are counted as work experience at Harris, so that is something that I would like to bring to your notice.
Yeah, good point. So if you've interned for, let's say, 3 months over the summer, and then, you know, one summer before it was another 3 months, so that gets added in terms of work X. That's a very good point. Thanks, Sakshi.
Thank you, ma'am. We'd like to wrap this session now. So on behalf of Symbiosis School of Economics, its fraternity and the entire organizing committee, I feel immense pleasure to take this opportunity to propose a vote of thanks to Ms. Namrata Arora, ma'am, the Director of Academic Partnerships and Strategy, and Sakshi Parihar, ma'am, the Country Ambassador at Harris School of Public Policy, University of Chicago. Both of them spared the time from the busy schedule to create this webinar with the extremely relevant address of public policy. Thank you, ma'am, for this amazing session.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you to the Symbiosis community. Thank you to the leadership. Thanks, Sakshi, for being such a great alumna from your school. Really a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone for joining.
Thanks. Bye.
And we have still a lot of questions. Maybe we'll directly write it.
Yeah, absolutely. Always welcome.
Sure.
Please do share our email addresses.
Yeah.
Thank you.
If the PPT can be shared with us, we will share the PPT and the recording with the students.
Absolutely fine.
Thank you.
Thanks, Varun. Take care. Bye.
Thanks, Varun.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
everyone.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.